breaks my heart where I see people that are in environments that don't provide a fertile ground for them to grow and they stay there. You're killing yourself. And if you find yourself in an environment that provides a fertile ground for you to grow, continue to infuse yourself into the strategy and the dynamics and the power play of that environment and grow with it. So it all boils down to, what do I want for myself?
Welcome back to another episode of The Leader Within. Today, I'm excited to introduce Nadine Niba. She's an award-winning technology risk leader, speaker, and author of Amazon's #1 bestseller, Quarterback. Given her passion in helping professionals lead with clarity, show up with intention, and build resilient, purpose-driven careers, I'm excited to have her share her insights with you. Well, welcome, Nadine. Can you please share with us a story that has influenced how you lead yourself and others?
I'm very glad to be here, Angela. That was an amazing introduction of me. Hi, everyone. If you're watching this, I'm glad you're here. Um, a story that has influenced how I lead. I don't think it's just one story. I think it's a collection of life experiences that I think every experience I've had in my life has constantly and increasingly shaped me as a person. It has shaped my behavior, my mannerism. It has shaped my frame of reference. And in all honesty, the person I was even like just last week is not the same person I am today. There's something that I now do differently with every interaction, every experience, every day. Um, Being an immigrant, migrating from Cameroon, moving to Canada, going through the whole immigrant experience, the culture shock, survival, trying to get your paper settled in a new country. It's a journey of struggle that when you successfully go through that journey, you build resilience and grit and a deep appreciation for work and for the opportunities that come your way that inadvertently shapes how you approach opportunities, how you approach leadership, how you approach people in general. You become very kind, very objective, very hardworking. Your work ethic is through the roof because you know how hard you've had to work to get to this point in your life. So I think that one thing that has inadvertently shaped who I am as a person, shaped my leadership style, shaped my personality, my work ethic, is my immigrant journey.
I appreciate you sharing that. And I want to double click on one thing because I think a lot of folks who immigrate to new places, they battle with whether it's unconscious biases or the common theme of we need blank experience, whether it's we need Canadian experience, which I use air quotations for those who are just listening. Based on your journey, have you encountered those conversations and how did you effectively position yourself to overcome that barrier?
Yes, I did encounter that. And I think that when people say, "Oh, we need Canadian," I wish that can go away. But when I went into an exercise of peeling off the layers of Canadian experience and what does this mean, I got to realize that the fundamental of it was trust. It was not necessarily Canadian experience per se. The people wanted somebody they could trust. Whether we like it or not, even the work environment boils down to human behavior. They are just laws of human nature and human behavior that people like to work with people that they like, regardless of how competent or incompetent they are, and people that they trust. And so when they are saying, "Oh, we need Canadian experience," what they are saying is, we need somebody that we can trust. And one way to bypass this barrier is through referrals. Go out there, speak to people, let people get to know you. It brings down those walls of, can I trust this person? Can I bring this person into my team? If this person comes into my team, will they fit in? Will they belong? I choose belonging more than fitting in because I don't advocate for everybody in an environment behaving in the same way, but everybody should belong in an environment where they are. So at the bottom of it is trust. Yes, they call it Canadian experience, but that's not what really it should be. And so what I did for myself was leverage my network, showcased my skills and what I could do to the people who had got to know me, and they could go out there and become advocates for me. And that is what I teach other immigrants that I get to talk to day in, day out. Yes, they say Canadian experience, but what they are really looking for is, can I trust you? And so if Angela is hiring, is looking for somebody to work on her team, and Nadine is Angela's colleagues or Angela's superior, and Nadine comes to Angela and say, you know what, I know this girl who just moved from Brazil 6 months ago. She's amazing, she's so hardworking, she knows how to do this. Canadian experience is going to get off your mind because you're like, oh my God, I'd like to work with this amazing person. At this point in time, you don't care if they just moved here 6 months ago because somebody that you trust has advocated for them. So it really boils down to advocacy, networking, and trust.
I'm going to dive into that trust piece because I think when you talked about the showcasing of skills part, I think where individuals misconstrue that showcasing is I'm going to send you my resume, hope that you read my resume and my profile, and then through that is where you'll learn the skills that I bring. Whereas I think you've actually taken a different approach. So would love to kind of hear, based on your journey, if you were to reflect back on maybe one key thing that has been the catalyst of you successfully building that trust and showcasing that skill, what would that be?
90% of people don't read. When you apply for the job, even the recruiters don't read all the resumes. AI does most of the reading. So why will you want to have people to get to know you by sending them a dump of your resume for them to read it? They will not do that. They will not do that. You have to actually ask for a meeting, a coffee meeting, and go sit down with people 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and just learn about who they are, what they do, what they like about their job, what they do on the weekend, how is their family, what's their favorite show on Netflix, and then let them know that about you too. Fundamentally, it boils down to human connection. What you want to do is get out of behind the screen and actually meet people in person and connect. So don't make the mistake of just sending someone a resume via email. No, get down to it. Can I meet you for? Will you be kind enough to give me 30 minutes of your time over coffee when you're free? Show up, be present, connect, learn about them. Human connections go a long way. One of my favorite phrases is that the quality of the rest of your life depends on the quality of your network. You have to go out and network.
Really sound advice right there, especially the human connection piece. So we've taken a little bit of a look at the external version, now going internally. It's freaking hard, right? You start in a new place. You're trying to make sure that you can survive and pay for your bills on top of doing these extra things. So it takes a lot of self-leadership to be able to be resilient and to kind of go through that and have enough self-awareness of what is working, what is
Yeah.
not working. So how do you effectively lead the leader within?
You have to be disciplined. Also, I like the way you said it. How do you lead the leader within? I think that that's the basis for my book, Quarterback. It's all about leading the leader within. In Quarterback, I spoke about the challenges immigrants face, but the real content of the book is yes, we have all of these challenges, but you can overcome them, starting with personal leadership. What's your vision for your career? What do you want to do? What does your pro forma resume look like? What do I want to be doing from now to 2028? From 2028 to 2035, what do I want to be doing? You have to start with a personal vision. Your personal vision is going to drive a lot of the decisions you make or not make, a lot of the offers you take or not take. Personally, I think that when you have the vision, you make it plain, you put it out there, the universe will run with it. And every action that you take after that day, it's going to ultimately align. So start with that. Start with the vision and then make little steps of progress towards that vision. If you find yourself in a work environment that aligns with the vision, put in your best, get the job done, strategically position yourself, ensure that your job is excellent and you're echoing the message of your work, because getting the job done is one thing, having visibility for the work you've done is another thing. You have to do all of that. Understand the power plays in every environment you're working in. They call it office politics. You have to understand it and you have to make yourself a major player. It's very important. We cannot separate whatever job we do from the people on the job, because ultimately it's the people that make the decision. They'll make the decision on your promotion, they'll make the decision on whether you stay or go, they'll make the decision on what salary to give you. So you want to position yourself in a way that they see you as someone that they can trust, they can rely on, that cares about the company and all of that. That's one part of it. If you have your vision and it positions you in the right environment, and then you can infuse yourself into that environment and do what is necessary, understand the power place in that environment, understand the dynamics, and position yourself right, you get it right. Another thing the vision does for you is if you find yourself in an environment and even though you're doing everything right, it still keeps not aligning with you, because you know the vision for yourself and the plan for your life, you say, check out, this is not the right place for me. I need to go out there and find the right place for me. I need to go out there and find the right fit for me. At every point in time in your career, it shouldn't only be about the vision of the company and where the company is going. The right work environment for everybody is the work environment where the personal vision of the individual and the vision of the company align. And if you find yourself in an environment where your personal vision and the vision of the company don't align, I don't see what you're doing there. Keep it moving until you find it, just like a relationship. It's the same thing. And sometimes it breaks my heart where I see people that are in environments that don't provide a fertile ground for them to grow and they stay there. You're killing yourself. And if you find yourself in an environment that provides a fertile ground for you to grow, continue to infuse yourself into the strategy and the dynamics and the power play of that environment and grow with it. So it all boils down to, what do I want for myself?
And you know what is powerful about what you just said in terms of what you want for yourself? Then you can also identify opportunities where you want to actually create value in and can create value in. And as a result of that, when you're having some of these coffee conversations and being curious about the other individual's stories, you learn to leverage that mind where you're like, hey, this is actually a problem I want to solve with them versus you going the other direction and be like, actually, I'm actually going to pass someone on to them or whatever it may be.
Exactly.
And I think that energy is more contagious, even the way that you just spoke, compared to you coming from a desperate, I'll take anything, right?
Exactly.
Even though, again, I know that that's a level of privilege, but still. So I want to move on to you are a leader in your own right, whether it's influence because of the presence you created or through the work that you are doing as a technology risk leader. So what are some common gaps you've noticed when it comes to leadership effectiveness?
I've worked under so many different leaders, and I should have said this at the start. Another thing that has shaped my leadership style today is I've worked under so many leaders that I've seen what I want and I want to adopt, and I've seen what I absolutely do not want, and I'll never be that. I've worked under really great leaders and I've worked under really horrible leaders. When I worked under horrible leadership, trust me, I didn't last in that environment more than a year. I was done. Based on my experience, one thing that I see that is almost like a stereotype. People think you need a huge title to be a leader. When I become a manager, I'm going to be a leader. When I become a director, I'm going to be a leader. When I become the chief audit something, then I'll start leading my team. Leadership is influence. There's going to be somebody who is just a senior consultant who knows the essentials of leadership. And you realize that even you, a director or a partner, when you speak, it doesn't carry as much weight as this other person seated here who does not have half of what you have in title and ranking. Influence is something that comes from how you cultivate relationships with people and the value you provide to them. You gain influence by providing value, not through titles. So make yourself a person who provides value to others, a person who really cares about people and really wants to see people succeed. When people see you as that person, they will listen to you when you talk and you will have influence. That's what translates to leadership, not the title. I think this one thing has covered everything because you can't be very profit driven and not care about people. The people are the ones who work for the profit. You have to strike a balance. There is my employee is going through a hard time at home. Let me be there for them and support them as much as I can. And there's a place for let's have a difficult conversation. This person is not performing very well. You don't know if in that point in time in their life they're dealing with something. And as a leader, you need to care for the person first at this moment.
Let's dive into that piece because That's one of the trickiest parts of being a leader. It's a gray area, is making sure that you prioritize both the business and the people. When it comes to you developing your leadership skills, whether it's from an influence perspective and also having that empathy and accountability piece, what has really helped you develop that skill?
Like you said, the first thing is learning to strike a balance. As a leader, you have to strike a balance between the business goals and the people. There's times where people may be dealing with things, and it's going to require that you've discussed with your leadership and say, okay, I'm going through this phase. I'm going to take this time off to deal with this, and I'm going to be back at this time. And then when they come back and things are not improving, then you have the difficult conversation. What's going on? Do you need support? Are you sure you still want to do this? Ceci, cela. That's a French term. So for me, it's striking a balance between profit and people.
When you actually have those conversations around timelines and expectations, it actually sets both of you up for
It
success.
does.
Because if you had left that conversation indefinitely, then it's like, how do you actually hold someone accountable to a moving goalpost that they're not even aware of what that post
Yeah.
is? Now, I want to switch gear into quarterback.
Thank
Congratulations again
you.
for getting Amazon's #1 bestseller. For those who have never read that book, if you could offer one leadership takeaway from that book, what would that be?
See, quarterback is packed with leadership nuggets from start to end. It's hard to pick out one, but in summary, I would say what quarterback is saying is you should be the team leader for your team. Your team being yourself and the game being your career. You should be at the forefront of it, making the decisions that work for you. Remember at the start of this, I said, write the vision, make it plain, and you should not be working for a company that the visions don't align. So, having that in mind throughout your career, you should be making the decisions that work for you. You have to put yourself first at all times. There's something that I put in quarterback that I really, really love. It says, build a career, not a job. And so when I had a private book signing event, someone said, what does that mean? What do you mean build a career, not a job? Is the job not the career? No, the job is not the career. The job is the company you're working for. Your career has to be bigger than the company you're working for. So spend 90% of your time on your job, do an excellent job, infuse yourself into the environment, by all means, help the company achieve its objective, its mission, its vision, which also aligns with yours. Because if it does not align with yours, you shouldn't be there in the first place, right? So you spend 90% on that. But the other 10%, you have to spend it on building a career. And what do I mean by that? Developing yourself, staying up to date with all the necessary technical releases, new publications, new updates in your technical field. Let's say you are a CPA and CPA is releasing an updated guide every 6 months. You have to be on top of that. Take all the necessary qualifications and designations that apply to your field. AI is changing the way we work right now. Stay on top of it and upgrade yourself with the necessary skills that are needed to stay relevant in the job, regardless of how AI impacts the job. Network with those who are influential in your field. Ensure your professional body know you. Become a thought leader. Contribute to thought leadership. Make yourself valuable in your chosen career so that the day that that job no longer aligns with your vision, you're off to the next company that aligns with your vision. The day that job calls you into a meeting room and say, we're terminating your employment, you say, well, thank you. I'm marketable. I have a career which is not tied to this job. I'm going to be on the next thing in 2 weeks. I'll just take a 2 weeks vacation. You build a career, not a job. Your career is not supposed to be tied to an employer.
Where you've done really well on is you've built influence with over 20,000 individuals on LinkedIn, and you've built a successful career, and you have a #1 bestseller book. If you look back at your journey so far and you were to share one piece of advice on what has helped you create this level of influence, and I'm confident this is just it's the beginning. Like, this is not the highest I'll ever go. Reflecting back on your journey, if you can pinpoint it to maybe one thing that has consistently helped you create the influence that you have, no matter how you're feeling, especially in mornings where you wake up, you're like, why the am I still grinding the way that I am? What would that one thing be?
It was my mindset. My mindset was always fixed on building a career, not necessarily a job. So at every point in time, it did not matter what company I was working for. I was always very present with my professional body, the people who make up the profession I've chosen, the network, the networking events, contribute contributing myself to the profession, contributing myself to the thought leadership. It did not matter what company I was working for or I am working for. My mindset is fixed on I want to be the best I can be for this career. And so, whatever I had to do to constantly show up as my best, constantly develop my technical knowledge, constantly be present for the profession and contribute both technically and socially for the growth of the profession, I was going to do it. And so, even on days where I didn't like the job I was doing on the job, I still showed up for the profession.
That speaks a lot to your character, and it also shows that you're not a bystander. I think to crush it in any realm that you want to show up in, you can't be a bystander, and it gives me the visual of a
Yeah.
quarterback, right? And alludes to your book. As we slowly wrap up our conversation, what do you think it takes to unleash the potential of individuals and organizations?
One, genuinely caring about the people on your team, much more than just seeing them as a profit line on the balance sheet, making resources available for them to upskill themselves, having honest conversations with them about their career growth. Where do they want to go? Where do they want to be in the next 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, and how you can support them to get there. You have to gain the trust of your team. They have to see you as my manager, my supervisor, my director really cares about my growth beyond the four walls of this company. And I'll tell you something, Angela, I've been very lucky to have really great managers throughout my career trajectory. Let me give you some examples. On my first job, when it was an internship, it was for an oil and gas company. When she called me and said, oh, you work really hard. Where do you want to go with your career? I called a different company. I said, I would like to work for that firm. And she said, I'm going to call somebody in there and ensure you get an interview. So, even though I expressed the desire for was not within the four walls of that company, she gave me the support to get to where I want to be. Till date, this is 11 years later, I still meet with her every week because in my books, that was selfless leadership. 6 years after that, I find myself a manager in this amazing firm. I really enjoyed working for this firm, the second firm I worked for. First day on the job, my manager asked me, what are your 10-year goals? I said, my 10-year goal is to become the CEO of a Fortune 500 company. Now, this is a firm, not a Fortune 500 company. And I'm in the firm and I'm telling my manager, my 10-year goal is to become the CEO of a Fortune 500 company. And he looked at me and said, my job as your manager is to help you realize your true potential, be it at this company or out of this company. I still respect him for that till today. And that is how I know as a leader right now. I'm not going to hold it against someone on my team if they come to me and they express my next 10 5-year goals is to be somewhere else. My job is to support you to get to the highest level of the pinnacle of what it is you want to become career wise and not be judgmental about it. When you give people that kind of selfless support, in return, they give you the utmost loyalty on the job. And by the way, right now, in the day and age we are, the workforce that we currently have now, retention should be defined as staying on a job for 2 years, not staying on a job forever. You see, this Generation Alpha, Generation Z workforce, they are not in the business of staying on one job for 10 years. And so if you get them on your team and they give you 2.5 years, that's a win.
And there's also that mentality of if they came into this worked their way out of it and left it in a better place than when they first come in, that is also a better win because they're going to be better ambassador for you than someone who you were trying to handcuff to their seat
Exactly.
because you needed that heartbeat there for longer due to your reasoning. So I really appreciate that call out and that selfless leadership that you called out. And so last question to you, what is one thing that is top of mind for you that we can either celebrate with you or help you with?
Well, right now I'm celebrating the success of Quarterback, right? When the book was released, how well it was received by the professional community and how much amazing reviews I've received on every social media platform, direct messages, meetings, phone calls about the things that I shared in this book. Every day I go to bed saying to myself, I could not have been the one who wrote this book. It could only have been God writing through me. That's one thing I'm most grateful for right now, the lives that Quarterback has impacted. And I hope it continues to impact more lives. Hope it continues to reach more people because the goal really is to see everybody win. And that's why the book was written.
Well, huge kudos to you, Nadine. Thank you again for sharing your story and your insights today. Your passion is absolutely contagious. I'm rooting for you and in your corner as you work towards your goal of being a CEO of a Fortune 500 company. And to everyone else who's tuned into another episode, thank you so much for your time and attention. It means more to me than you'll know, and I can't wait to stay in touch with you on the next episode. Till then, stay safe.